Okay, let's do this. El Mariachi. Going into this, I didn't know anything about this movie. I never did see Desperado, which is kind of like a sequel remake to this movie. That one starred Antonio Banderas. That was released also by director Robert Rodriguez, who brings you this movie. This one was 1992-93. It's got all kinds of accolades. It's a really good movie. This movie is set entirely in Mexico and was produced entirely in Mexico. I'm not that familiar with Robert Rodriguez. I know that I've seen a bunch of his movies, mainly Spy Kids. I did catch Dusk Till Dawn. Also The Faculty, kind of like that. Oh, and Shark Boy and Lava Girl. Well, this ain't no Shark Boy. Now, it has a little bit of a story behind it because, well, a story for me anyway. A couple of weeks ago, I had mentioned to my brother that I wanted to get some suggestions, requests for types of movies that I would review on this channel. And he said to me, why don't you do El Mariachi? No hesitation. He said, that's a really good movie, you should watch it. And I was like, isn't that thing with Antonio or something? And he goes, no, don't worry about any of that stuff, just watch it, it's a really good movie. So I was kind of like, okay, well, I'll keep my eye open for it. I'll probably never find it, but if I do, okay, I'll do it. I'll watch it and I'll review it. So the very next day, I went to this thrift store. What's the first movie they have on display? El Mariachi. And they had 2 copies of it on the very first shelf of all the VHS movies that they had. I guess that's a kind of a sign. So there you go. There's my story about El Mariachi. Anyway, the movie itself is independently filmed, and there's a famous story behind that too, that basically Robert Rodriguez shot this movie first takes only, no second takes, and it's shot on an absolutely shoestring budget with borrowed equipment in spare time to make this movie. And let me just say, he really pulled it off. This is a great movie. And why is this so great? Well, there's a lot of reasons. I mean, first of all, to me anyway, this is a cultural kind of snapshot. This movie takes place in Mexico. I mean, yeah, I've been to Mexico a couple times on like the touristy, cheesy resort thing. But I've always been fascinated by the culture and the lifestyle, and it's intriguing, very intriguing. But it's also a great story, like almost like I wouldn't say a fairy tale or a fable, but I would think like a folk tale. There is the El Mariachi, the musician who comes to a brand new town, and he wants to make a name for himself as a musician, and he goes around to all the bars and stuff like that and asks, hey, you need a musician? You need somebody to entertain people in your bar? I'll do it, and I'll work really hard. And so he goes to multiple places, but unfortunately somewhere in there he gets mistaken for a recently released gangster who has a vendetta against another big gangster. Anyway, it's about Mexican cartel, I guess, gangs, gang violence, gun violence. That's what it's about. And this musician gets caught up in all this stuff. Case of mistaken identity, and everybody's trying to get him, and he has no idea why. But he eventually learns, this whole crime scenario, and the one guy gets out of jail and goes after the other guy that owes him money, and the non-convict guy is sending assassins to go kill him, but they find the musician instead. And so it's a lot of chase scenes, a lot of shooting guns and stuff, and which is normally really not my kind of movie. But But the action in here it goes along really well, and it flows really well, and there's cool stunts in it. I think it's exciting, and it goes from scene to scene very seamlessly. There's a little bit of a romance story in here, but it's kind of a tragic kind of romance, and this is subtitled. So if you don't like subtitled movies, then that's your problem. The actors all seem really good and really convincing, or at least their physical performance. Even if I don't completely understand exactly what they're saying, I got it's all right here, right, and the subtitles. So cinematography is really good in here. A lot of close-ups, kind of like, and there's funny parts. There's one really funny scene, actually it just takes a minute or so. The musician goes to the first bar that he gets to in town, and he says, "Hey, you want to hire me as a musician?" And they're like, what do I need a musician for? I got that guy over there in the corner. And it's just some guy sitting there drinking a beer with a keyboard in front of him. And he is the Mariachi band. So the guy gets up, pushes a couple buttons on there, and it plays like a mariachi beat and everything. He presses like barely any buttons, and he just kind of stands there, and there's a mariachi band playing over his keyboard. And I don't know, it was just really funny, I thought. And the guy sits down like, yeah. And the bartender goes, "Yep, see, I don't need a musician around here." And there's a couple of other scenes that are just kind of comedic, and they really don't seem like they fit in there. But hey, that's life. Funny stuff happens even when crazy, serious, bad stuff is happening. So why not show it all? There's also a couple like dream sequences in here. I think they're well done. They're short and to the point, and they're more just give you a feeling, like a sense. They're very abstract, and I don't know. I just thought they were kind of creative and cool, and they don't get too deep and too dark and scary like a David Lynch movie or something like that. Just overall, this is really well directed and really well put together and well written, and the dialogue is good, and the actors are good, and you could tell they weren't working with a lot, but everybody's trying here, man. This is a good movie. So good that I'm going to go ahead and give El Mariachi an A-. This is a solid A movie. Yeah, budget-wise, it's a really cheaply made movie, but it doesn't really look it, except in, a couple of little special effects scenes. And when I say special effects, we're talking like bullet wounds and squibs and whatever, and also there's a fake head at one point. But it's not gory, doesn't glorify gun violence or anything like that. Yeah, I do highly recommend this movie, just like my brother did to me. So if there's anybody else out there that has a request for a movie that I haven't featured yet on this channel, you kind of, if you've watched any of my videos, you know what I'm into and what I like. So don't go throwing like Fast and Furious 5 at me or whatever. But yeah, I'm open for recommendations. I can't say that I'll get around to every one of them, and I can't say that I'm going to like any particular movie that you might like. It's all just random. It's all about what it makes me feel. And that's what movies are all about. They're made to make you feel something, right? Well, this one does. And it makes me feel, really sad for the main character in a way, and also really happy, when he triumphs in certain ways. And a good movie is a good movie. If you think there's a good movie out there that I should see, let me know. Leave it in the comments or whatever. And as always, please leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe to Andy Boy Comics and Toys. And until next time, folks, have a good one out there.